In this short video we're going to take you to a different dimension. Well, actually no, we're just going to show you dimensions of this van. We're going to show you dimensions of the garage, size of the bed, even the habitation door. Hope you find this useful. Aperture 22.5 inches. $57 inches. Inside, at its deepest point, width wise, 39.5 inches. Depth, 22 inches. Height to first shelf, if you're using the shelf, 36.5 inches. Pretty much 3 foot. Height to the second shelf, 21.5 inches. There's a lot of halves. Roughly 22 inches for the top shelf, which makes the total height, whatever the sum is. The width at its narrower point, 20.5 inches. And the depth is still 22 inches. That's the garage. Now the 2022 model's got a larger habitation door, but this 2020 model, 20 inches by 74.5. We'll say 74 to the first step there. 32.5 inches, but be aware that you've got a lug either side, which is for the lock. The depth at its deepest point is 14 inches, and the height is 9 inches. I shall also, of course, put the dimensions of the actual van on the video. Overhang from tyre to rear is approximately 33 inches. Height off the ground, where are you? There you are. 21.5 inches. At its lower point, 14.5 inches. Headroom. And the elevating bed is almost at its maximum height. I say almost because we like to keep a couple of bits on top, which you could argue is what most people would do. 69.5 inches. Everything's got a half in it. Seat base behind the passenger seat is 4 foot long, and the depth, if you're interested, is 17.5 inches. Move you over. Seating here, we'll call that 52.5 inches, and the length here for the 2 seat belted seats maxes out at 37.5 inches, although the backrest only goes to 34.5 inches. The bed I've done on a separate video, so I'll put an inset in now. 1,290mm in width, or 51 inches, and the length of the mattress is 1,930. I'm going to give you it at its widest point. You have got approximately 1,200mm in width, and in length you have 1,850mm. Glove box? No, I think we'll leave that. Little cupboard. (16.5 inches by 6.5 inches with a depth of 10 inches. That's the cupboard. We'll even do a little drawer. Depth of the drawer 15 inches. Height of the drawer is roughly 5 inches. Width of the drawer is 10.25 inches. Right, the large cupboard, the one with the funky sliders. Let's have a look. We have total height is 26.5 inches. Total width from an aperture perspective is just 11 inches. But the depth is impressive. The depth is 34 inches. Individual shelf height, you've got 9.5 inches, and then up to the cutlery drawer, we'll call that a foot. That's 12 inches. Of course, this cupboard door only access is the same. Not really worth measuring that one. Same for that one, very narrow. This one isn't a cupboard because, of course, it's really just for the RCD and gas isolation. Upper cupboards. They look identical, but we'll check on the video anyway. 21.5 inches pretty much that way. Versus, certainly to the aperture, no more than say 13 inches. Of which the top shelf is giving you just under 8 inches. And therefore the bottom shelf, if you take it to the actual base, is just under 8 inches again. So about just under 16 inches for that cupboard. So this cupboard, again, 21.5. There is a boxed in area there, which reduces the width. And that reduces the width to 18 inches. This, I'm not going to measure it, is wide enough for cans. Tin potatoes, carrots, that kind of stuff. Curry sauces in bottles. You know the drill. Next is that cupboard there. So if you can see this, there's a sloped section at the back that's reducing the amount of depth that there is. But at its deepest point, you've got approximately 6.5 inches. There's a boxed in section, so I'm only going to measure it from within there by 15.5 inches by 10 inches in height. We've measured that one. Because that's part of the garage. For this one, we'll do the aperture first. Width of the aperture is 9.5 inches. Depth is 38.5 inches. Depth into the wardrobe itself is 21 inches. And the maximum width in the wardrobe is 18 inches. And the height, we'll call that 47 inches. Under sink cupboard, aperture height 24.5 inches by, we'll call that 12 inches or a foot. Inside height to the shelf is 16 inches from the bottom to the shelf, or I should say from the bottom to the bottom of the shelf. And then you have a further, we'll say 10, maybe 11 inches, but remember you've got, at the end of the day, you've got a sink encroaching in there. And the maximum depth is also a foot, 12 inches. Shower, aperture width, what we do, 17 inches. Height, again, down to where the step is, that comes in at 74 inches. Now, of course, you've got to add an extra, we'll call that 2 inches, because of course the floor is lower. And the depth, 22 inches, and the width is 32 inches. It's been emotional. I think we've measured everything in this T-Line 590 motorhome. If not, if I missed something, leave it in the comments, and of course we'll probably cover that in a future video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it informative. If you did, hit the like button because it really does help build the channel. And if you're not subscribed, why not subscribe? It's completely free to do so. But again, it builds the channel and it keeps us making more videos. There'll be a clickable link just there any moment now. See you soon.